everyone. Thanks for being here. I know your time is tight, so we'll make it worth your while. For anyone I haven't met, my name is Alec Pirhalo. I'm CEO and co-founder of SafePoint IT. We're a managed IT provider and security company based here in Chicago. And here's why we put this together. Most of the people are still using AI like a search box. You ask a question, you get an answer, and that's about it. And that's not where the real value is. The real shift is that AI can now do work. Not just an answer for a question, but it actually can research a prospect, for example, check your CRM, check your email, put together a call brief, draft a follow-up, set up your next task. And all of that can be done in minutes. That's why we're putting this together to show you it can act like an agent. And so we're not going to talk about AI in abstract. We're going to show you real workflows live, the same ones that we're on inside of our own company. And we got two people here with me today. Caden Evanson is our service manager, and Jared Baer is one of our senior engineers. They'll introduce themselves a little more later into the presentation. But they're in this every day. We're all using all of these tools we're going to talk about. So this is all practical stuff. Quick roadmap. We'll start talking about what AI agents are and what types there are, and then we'll jump into we'll go through the concepts first, and then we'll go to live examples and show you the workflows. And at the end, we'll leave some time for Q&A. So ask your questions. There's Q&A section. And yeah, that's about it. Let's get into it. Jared, you wanna move to news?
Thanks, Alec.
Jared, all yours. Yep.
Of course. So for anyone I haven't met or met digitally, I'm Jared Baer, SafePoint's enterprise engineer. Outside of Dimitri and maybe a few others, I'm our final technical escalation point. I work on quoting, work plans, projects, and whatever else they decide to throw at me. So I'm going to be filling in for Dimitri, who normally handles news, and kind of giving you guys a laydown of what's been up in the last month or so in AI, which, unlike most industries, seems to be far more than others lately. So OpenAI recently released GPT 5.6 as a family of 3 models, Sol, Terra, and Luna. And each one represents different levels of work and capacity. Sol is this flagship, most difficult projects and technical work. Terra kind of sits in the middle, leveraging speed and cost, and Luna being very fast and very affordable, sun, earth, moon. The takeaway is simple. Businesses won't always want to keep running these larger models. They cost a lot of money to run, and they tend to be slower. So we're seeing that more and more companies and even persons are shifting to use models dynamically. What fits complexity to reduce the cost or to achieve the goal quicker. So we're seeing this shift. OpenAI also announced Presence on July 22nd. And this is a really neat solution. It's an enterprise platform for deploying customer service, internal agents through voice or chat. So a business defines the agent's job, what systems it can access. Maybe it's a CRM, maybe it's their database of knowledge and help desk kind of solutions, what it can do, and when it has to escalate to a person. So OpenAI announced that Presence has been running on their own English language phone support and resolving over 75% of all of their inbound issues without human assistance. It's currently in a limited enterprise offering, but it does show that more and more AI agents are being built to work in real business processes. So it wouldn't be a surprise if in the coming months we start to see more and more enterprise companies and things like that getting these solutions. Two more things I really wanted to quickly touch on. We don't use a whole lot of Gemini here at SafePoint, but I do think it's important to talk about a little bit. They announced 3.6 Flash, which is really fast, low cost agentic work agent. It's far cheaper than almost any of the other major models. Not quite as competent, but the low cost and speed is really valuable for simple, quick tasks. So again, I really think that we're seeing the industry realize that coming up with different models is going to be a benefit for everybody. Finally, Microsoft's expanding what developers can build into 365 Copilot. Agent can now triage email, can look into folders, it can look at inbox rules, it can prepare supervised emails, schedule meetings, and create time, just saving tons of time across the board. This is huge because previously Copilot couldn't access every part of the Office suite, and now we're seeing it open up more and more. So this is great for a lot of our users that are already in Copilot. Anyway, taking together all these announcements show two things happening at the same time. Models are becoming more specialized, and the platforms around them are becoming better at acting inside real business systems, email, CRMs, QuickBooks, any internal system really that has an API or some way to be interacted with. With that broader landscape established, though, I want to hand it over to Caden to explain the three different ways we use Claude here internally.
Thank you, Jared.
Of course.
So for those of you who don't know me, haven't met me, my name is Caden Evenson. I'm the service manager here at SafePoint IT. I've been with the company for a little over 5 years, and I am responsible for making sure that our service department is running smoothly, efficiently, and delivering good service to our clients. So I want to talk more about Claude specifically. It seems to be our favorite tool as of late. So I want to go into the three modes that we use the most: chat, co-work, and code. Claude Chat is the version of Claude that most people think of when they think of AI tools. It's the chat bot that you talk to, ask it questions, get simple help, draft an email, read through a document, etc. Great for one-off tasks, but the other modes in Claude are better for repeated tasks, scheduled tasks, agentic tasks, stuff like that. Cowork is very similar to chat, but it takes it a step further by plugging itself into your business. It's going to gather context from your emails, your documents, your CRM. It's going to answer questions and help you do things based off what your business is actually doing. And then code is deeper than that. Um, you're setting up reusable instruction sets for multi-step jobs that you run on demand. You're building out projects, you're building out multi-step, complex, workflows that you're checking in and you finish one aspect of your work, you move into another, and Claude Code is there helping you every step of the way. Most people think that Claude Code is only for automation, maybe it's only for coding, but that's not necessarily the use case anymore. So I want to dive further. Oh, go ahead.
Before you move to the next slide, I just wanted to kind of clarify. Claude Cowork and Claude Code are actually pretty very similar, even though they are completely different names and different places inside of the application. The function is very similar. The interface is different, but the end result is almost the same. Claude Code has more granular controls and will ask you more questions and more picky about things. But that's about it.
Yep.
And also, guys, don't forget to ask questions. I know some things may sound technical. In the end, Jared is technical. Caden is semi-technical. They ask clarifying questions, please.
Sure. Yeah, I'll go more into the difference between co-work and code on the next two slides. They do fill similar roles, but How you use them, I think, is what's more important. Um, so I'll dive into that now. First with Claude Cowork. As I mentioned, Claude Cowork is you interact with it very similar to the way you interact with chat, but it's built out to access your data more directly. You don't have to provide it as much context about what you're looking to do because it already kind of knows what you're looking to do based off what you've done. It connects the dots across all your tools rather than answering one question at a time where you give it the information up front. Additionally, Claude Cowork really, it, the way that they built it out is they want people to get into agentic AI use a lot easier. The bar to meet is a lot lower. It lets you just talk to it in plain English and set up recurring agentic tasks that take care of, scheduled items, scheduled workflows that you need it to do very easily. Um, Typically what the process looks like is you talk it through what you want it to do. In plain English, you explain when you want it to happen, how you want it to happen, what kind of notifications you want it to give you once that thing does happen. It'll give you a test run. You watch it, you make sure that it's doing exactly what you want it to do, and then you approve it, and it will create a scheduled task inside your Claude, telling you every single time it's running, when it's going to run, what it's going to run. In my screenshot here, you can see I have some scheduled tasks down here. They are tasks that I run every week. It's tasks that I built out in this, in this fashion. These are tasks that people are doing all the time, generating reports every Monday, generating a monthly report, pulling a summary of all your messages at the end of the day. Stuff that you could just ask chat or, Claude in general to do for you, but you're setting it up to do it on a scheduled routine basis. Claude Code is a little bit deeper in that what it's looking for typically is a structured set of instructions that you give it to take care of multi-part repeated workflows. Stuff that you're doing repeatedly more than once, on a regular basis, but maybe it's a more, there's more than one step involved in it. You want to take care of this aspect of your workflow. Once that's done, you want to move on to the next one, and you don't want to have to keep starting new chats to do each one. You design a instruction set, you give it to Claude, you tell it, hey, perform step one. It goes through, gives you the information about step one. Okay, now use information from step one to move into step two. And you just kind of work through your whole workflow using that, that aspect of Claude. It compounds too. So every instruction set that you build out for it makes the next session faster because all the context from your previous work is in that work set or instruction set, the project folder that you're working with. It picks up where you left off last time, no matter how long ago that last time was. And to be honest, as Alex said, the difference between the two isn't necessarily that wide. You can also set up automated recurring tasks to run through Claude Code, but it is more, like you said, more granular. What code looks for is a specific instruction set to work from ahead of time, while Claude Cowork kind of works with you on the fly. You just talk to it, it'll kind of figure things out along the way. Claude Code is looking for the instructions up front, and it will follow those instructions to a T. Additionally, a cool thing about Claude Code, you can tell it to update its instructions. So if something goes wrong, you get a result that you don't like, you can tell it, hey, return this differently, reformat this, and then it gives you what it's looking or what you're looking for. You tell it that you want it to update those instructions. It'll update those instructions. Keep that for next time. From here, I kind of want to have Jared talk a little bit about teaching Claude defaults and memory. So these are a little bit different from the instruction sets in that you're not teaching Claude, how you want it to work, but you're giving it details about what outputs you're looking for. He'll go more into detail here.
And
Thanks, Caden.
before you go into it, I just wanted to again explain that, Katie uses words like instruction sets and such, sounds fancy, like you need to know exact specific words to use in order to program the code. You don't. You just speak normal language and you just explain what you want. If you want to save something for future instruction sets that you're going to use in the future, you just tell it, hey, save it for future, make it faster next time, and it saves it to the folder, and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah. All the AI that we talk about is an LLM, a large language model. So they work by using, well, we interact with them using plain English. Even though they don't operate in plain English, they are able to understand that. So the way we interact with these, whether it's code, chat, cowork, whatever, English is, or whatever language, I guess, is how you communicate with it. Anyway, thanks for passing it over, Caden. I really like this part. It's a part of AI that's a lot of times overlooked. Um, you know, the real question here is like, how do we keep kind of talking about memory, right? How do we actually teach each one of these things like what we want it to remember, right? It's important to understand that memory works differently across the three environments. And there isn't one universal memory bucket that's automatically shared across all three of them. In Claude Chat, memory is based on your conversations. There is a universal memory function in chat, but unless you specifically tell it to do that or you enable that in a setting, there is a setting for it. It retains memory between each of your chats history. So keep that in mind as you kind of bounce around a little bit. Now, you can also tell it too directly. Remember that in my case, I'm SafePoint's enterprise engineer. Remember that my ticket note should separate troubleshooting from the final resolution. And by saying that, it puts it into its persistent memory. I'm telling it to do that. Now, one thing that's a little bit interesting is Cowork handles memory differently. General chat memory, not automatically carried into Cowork. Instead, Cowork organizes memory around projects. And this is you would create a project and tell it what you're doing or what you're working on, attach files, connect to whatever, and then perform the related tasks. And now Cowork remembers context from the tasks performed there. And this can be really big because you can have tasks that are massive in scale, huge productions, where you have really complex things that are happening. This is where it's a little bit different. Claude Code will generate a memory file on that project. ChatGPT's Cowork functionality will also create a memory file. And they are .mds, and this is kind of where it retains that information. It allows it to reference back to see how it did something, how you responded to it, and kind of shape its idea of you and what the goals are. Claude Code gives us the most direct and granular control, and that's really what it is. Cowork and Code use the same model. The difference is just what is presented to us as a user. Cowork is kind of the, it's set it and forget it. It kind of just works model. Code gives you more granular control, which can be really handy for specific things. So you get this structured files. This memory file will contain rules, procedures, terminology for things, formatting standards that you've asked for, known technical requirements on certain goals. And you can even see and edit these memories in code and in Cowork as well. /memory brings it up and you can talk to it about it. So simplest breakdown really is chat remembers you through conversation. Cowork remembers the work inside of a project, and code loads explicit instructions and maintains project-specific operational memory, repeatable over and over again. Now, apologies, a lot of that comes off kind of technical, but it lays the groundwork for where we go into the examples, which I think really opens up the questions for everybody. So let's use one real example on how to show these different approaches. Suppose I want Claude to consistently produce SafePoint style ticket notes, whatever those are. In chat, I could tell Claude, remember that my ticket notes should include the reported issue, troubleshooting performed, root cause, resolution, and validation. Now it becomes a personal working preference. It can apply in all future chats. So in the future, I just say, here's everything I did. Can you convert this to ticket notes? I don't have to tell it the format. It knows, and it will regenerate them in that format for me. In Cowork, I would create a service delivery project maybe, and I add that requirement to the project instructions and attach an example ticket or a picture of what my normal formatted tickets look like. Or maybe we have an SOP that I can attach to it or reference. Now, every task inside that project, when I open it up and I say, oh, I need ticket notes, it has that specific hard-coded written instructions, not just like a memory. It has an actual core example. And code works basically the same way. I would add that ticket note standard to the project's Claude MD file is what it would be. And it would repeatedly learn something useful. It would continue to do that every single time. So the difference is control and scope. Chat's useful for personal preferences. Cowork organizes memory around a particular type of work. And code gives us the same kind of facet, but more explicit file-based instructions for repeatable controlled processes. It doesn't roam, it stays focused. And we also need to maintain these memories. If our ticket standard shifts, or maybe we have an approval process that moves, right? Or a terminology change, the saved instructions need to change with it. So memory is guidance, not a security boundary. It tells Claude how we want work to be performed, the preference, right? So with that said, the next step is really how do we give it all this information? How, it has a preference for how I operate, but it still needs to collect that information. And that's where we start to look at connectors, which determine which systems and information it can actually reach and work with. Kane's going to explain how those connectors work now.
Perfect. Thanks, Jared. Yeah, so these connectors are called MCP connectors. For the rest of the webinar here, I'm just going to refer to them as connectors. And as we get into custom connectors, I'll touch on those as well, just so we know the terminology. So these connectors are a secure bridge between Claude and your tools. It defines exactly what Claude has access to, what it can do in that tool, and what it can't do. So Claude has a lot of stock connectors. All AI tools do really. OpenAI, ChatGPT does. You can go into the settings. You can see from their list of common connectors. Maybe some of them have a marketplace for connectors. These are pre-built either by the AI tool, the development company itself, or by the vendor that it's connecting to. These are very generic. The vendor decides what's exposed to the AI tool. It's great, easy to set up, very, very low bar for getting started. Custom connectors are exactly how they sound, custom. Like you build them out yourself. They're built around your process, what you're looking to do with your AI tools, what actions you want it to take, how you want it to name things, where you want it to, what you want it to see. And you can also limit on what it has access to so it's not touching anything you don't want touched. These connectors can also be set up to be read-only, so it can pull information, but it can't push or change anything in the system. You scope it yourself. That's where you're able to control how safe it is, how much risk you're willing to accept. An analogy, I guess, is a connector is a specific key. It's going to open one door. It's not a master key that'll get you into the whole building, into your whole system. Essentially, you're giving the AI tool one singular key to go into this one singular door, which is, Office 365, QuickBooks, HubSpot, etc. You tell it where it's able to go, and it's only going to go there when you tell it go there. So these connectors, we talked about memory, we talked about, how you tell Claude what it's doing, what you want it to do, the connectors, where it's able to go. now we're ready to move into what you're actually able to do with this once you have everything configured properly. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what we call a follow-up engine here. So follow up, the sales process.
Can I insert a
Yep,
note real quick?
go for it.
I see questions about like how things work inside Claude, and I want to kind of um, redirect the attention to connectors. It's really all about the connectors. It's because that's how you can search information very quickly, and this is the tools that you can use to do work for you. If it has a connection in Microsoft 365, it can create tasks, emails, events for you, right? Has connection to your CRM, it can create logs, notes, and so forth, and update tasks. So the more connections you have, the better. And also the quality of connections, they need to be capable that you can not just read, that's the bulk majority of connectors you get, provided by Claude by default, but to also to be able to write this to this software packages. That's where the real power comes in.
Right. Putting these connectors together changes just gathering information into actually doing work for you, or vice versa. Some of these connectors are set up with too much access. And if you want to limit how much it's able to do, you set up your connector properly and keep it from, going too far, making changes without you, that kind of thing.
I'll jump into it, even though I know it drives Caden insane when we bump into his speech. Um, I agree with Alec. There is a lot of questions on connectors, and I think maybe that's a disconnect. Sometimes we get so used to using a tool that we're familiar with. Um, Claude, ChatGPT, and all the other major AI players have connectors. They're supported. A company like we're going to use Slack or Teams, right? We're all pretty familiar with them. They produce a connector, and it basically is a way that AI can interact with that platform and that tool. And lots of companies have them. It could be Dropbox, it could be Gamma or GitHub, HubSpot, Zoom, and on this goes. The list is huge on official supported ones and even larger on unsupported or custom connectors. So they're all over the place, but that is how Claude is actually getting the information. You're not telling it, hey, I had this conversation with Alec about this thing. Here's the history of the chat. You say, I talked to Alec about this thing. What are your thoughts? And it says, oh, he's talking about a conversation. I need to go look on Teams or Slack. And it says, oh, there's the Slack chat with Alec. What did he say? And now it can provide its input. So that's
Perfect example.
how we're making these tools work. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. So now that the tools are working, let's talk about an example of like one of these workflows where, we've given it access to where we want it to go. We've given it the instructions we want it to follow at each step. When we give it certain, prompts, we give it certain input, it's going to go through the steps that we've designed. So during the sales process, when things fall through the cracks, when things get delayed, they wait too long, these deals die, right? Um, it doesn't matter how good the discovery call was, how good that initial conversation was. If you don't follow up, if you don't keep it going, the deal falls through. Not because, your service is bad or because the client's bad or anything like that. It's just, keeping things moving. You got to keep it rolling or the conversation dies, right? So, big thing is as you're working, you're emailing the client, you're updating your CRM. These start to drift apart naturally. As humans, we focus on one thing at a time. Conversations happen over here. You forget a couple little details, and when you go and update your CRM, not everything makes it over there. Eventually, your CRM says one thing, what actually happened is in the email or on the phone conversation that you had. And normally it takes somebody, taking a bunch of time going through finding those details to reconcile those two. An engine like this, an AI tool, a workflow that you design does both of these things. So we can talk about the 4 steps that we've designed in this process. Um, you give it the initial, hey, I need what task do I need to do today? It walks you through what your call script's going to look like. It updates the task once the call's done, and then it gives you a draft at the end to send to the client. I'll go into more detail here in a second, but this one tool, this one project file that we put together helps you move through each of these and keeps everything aligned. It keeps everything consolidated and make sure that nothing gets missed. So in this example here, we have, Claude's asking Alec, what's up next? What do we got to do? He says, pull my due and past due tasks from HubSpot, research these tasks as usual, output my task for today in the usual table format, prioritized. So as you notice, he's hitting on that as usual, do my normal, etc. Right? It remembers what he did last time. It has that memory built in, and it has the instruction set built out to take this prompt and move forward with it. The next step is the task table. So he asked it for the table. It lists out what he needs to do for the day. In this example, we're going to be reaching out to Meridian Financial Partners. The first task is talking about call Sarah to lock in infrastructure assessment date. It says who owns this task, when this task is due, how important the task is, and why we're doing it. What stage of the sales process are they in, and what are we looking to accomplish? Because we built out the instructions, because it has the memory, every single time we ask it for this kind of output, this is what it's going to give us. It gives you details. It doesn't let you forget what you're doing. It doesn't let you forget why you're doing it. It keeps you on track because you told it, hey, I need this stuff to keep on track, right? From there, once you say, hey, I'm going to go ahead with task number 1, give me the call script, we get the call script. So the script gets generated. It talks about, who we're going to be calling, what company they're with, what we're looking to do, just like before, but it gives more detail. It says, how are we going to open this conversation? Hi, Sarah. Thanks again for the time yesterday. Don't want to add to your plate here, but let's schedule an assessment. It'll give you information about what they said yesterday. If you tie it back to what was already in the conversation, it shows that we're staying on top of their needs, what they're looking for in a service, right? It brings it all back, ties everything together. It lists out the ask. What do we actually need to ask them before this call is over? What are we looking to accomplish with this call? Make sure to hit on this before you move on. And then, let's say we do need to bring in a technical resource. In this example, we're thinking about bringing in Dimitri, our CTO. How are we going to mention that we need to bring him in? How are we going to phrase that, hey, I need to bring in a technical resource to answer some of these questions here. Can we schedule a call to do that? And then it gives even some, if they give pushback or they have questions, can you send pricing first? Can you just send it? Can we not do the assessment? We're still under contract with our current MSP. How are we going to respond to that? And then lastly, it says what we need to do whenever we close the call out. If the call goes well and we are looking to move forward, what do we need to do to make sure that this process keeps moving forward? From there, once that call is over, Claude is going to take the call information that we take a call recording, you take a transcript, whatever you've got, feed it to it. It'll update the task in your CRM, in this case, HubSpot, with what happened, what tasks were generated from this conversation. What did they ask for? What did we promise? Stuff like that. And it creates the new tasks. It updates the old tasks. Sometimes it'll mark task complete. Sometimes it'll mark task off as not necessary anymore. Everything stays tied into what conversation you had, what information was gleaned during that call. You don't need to input anything manually. You don't have the opportunity to forget anything. Everything just gets uploaded and make sure that it's included in the next task that you complete. From there, once this is updated, we're going to generate an email with this. So going to draft an email for you about, hey, this is what happened on the call. This is the conversation we had. This is what I said I was going to do. Sometimes this is what you said you were going to do. It keeps everything kind of tied up, shows the client that we're on top of what we're doing, and it lists out the conversation, summarizes it for everybody that was involved, uh, kind of holds us to our word a little bit and keeps the process moving. Nothing gets stale, nothing gets forgotten. Everything is, it's all part of one task, so all the information stays in the one task, the whole workflow. And that's that. So,
And I wanted to just, finish up with my own notes. It's really like this workflow is what I use every day, right? I have at least 6 tasks come up due for sales, just for sales, and not necessarily sales that are happening right now. Some of these tasks are for follow-ups from, I'm just staying in touch with somebody once a quarter, for example, right? And it comes up today, and I remember the name. I have no idea where they are, what the background is. I would need to manually research unless I had this tool. And now it gives me full background, what we talked about, what is the next step, what are they thinking, what we spoke about, what am I pushing for, or what am I educating? And so it acts as, on one end, as the assistant for research. On the other one, it's my coach as well. I'm just a business owner, right? I'm not a super salesperson, right? It tells me how to say things, what's the right things to do, and what, when and what to do from the sales perspective. But it also does the third role of my personal assistant of creating things for me, typing things, and drafting those emails and tasks, and so forth, organizing my days into prioritized lists of things to do. So yeah,
Yeah.
can't live without it anymore. I just noticed on the screenshot from the other slide where we're showing the prompt, I already used 55 million tokens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a great example of, we tied all of these systems together using Claude Code, using a single instruction set. We're performing a workflow that, zigzags throughout all of our different tools, right? The next example I want to talk about a little bit is some tools perform many tasks, and if we set it up properly, if we set up connectors from Claude to the tool correctly, you can perform multiple processes inside one tool with a custom connector. So here at SafePoint, we built out a custom QuickBooks connector that connects to Claude. Some of the processes that we're able to do with it are things that were taking us time, things that take, very close attention to detail. It takes a lot of back and forth between various team members to confirm, what numbers need to go here, have these payments come in yet, etc. Right? So for instance, accounts payable, uh, with the connector set up properly, we can actually ask it to forward vendors' invoices. We can extract details from those invoices, match vendors and accounts, create the bill inside of QuickBooks, and get it ready for somebody to send before, actually getting it out to the client, right? Uh, at the end of the month, closing at the end of the month takes, I don't even know how long. Alec could tell you better than I could. The recurring journal entries, accruals, allocations, adjustments. The process is the same every single month, but it takes such a long time because there's so many details to pay attention to. There's so many steps that need to be taken. Building out these connectors in Claude, giving it access to what is actually being accessed when we do these processes, lets us run through this process, the workflow a lot faster. With the supporting math at the end. You ask it, hey, how did you come up with these numbers? It will tell you, it'll pull the information, where it got that information, and explain everything to you. And then lastly, collections is kind of an awkward one, obviously. Everybody who sends bills knows it. Um, with this, it kind of takes a lot of the pressure off of you, the person actually trying to run the collections, right? You can just have AI do it. It'll cross-reference open invoices with email conversations, what was promised, when it was promised, all the contact attempts. It'll draft a reminder for you with real numbers, real information from the invoices outstanding. I mean, you can even have it tone match, right? So like there's an overdue bill, it's 1 day past due, you're not going to be, raining down on them. It's going to be a friendly reminder, hey, this one's a little bit overdue. Let us know if you have any questions. We'll get it taken care of. Just with this one connector, it enables Claude to do so much within QuickBooks. On the flip side, if you don't want it to access certain aspects of it, you can build out that custom connector to avoid those sides of QuickBooks. If you don't want it to take certain steps, you just tell it not to. Um, it sounds scary letting these AI tools mess around in the books, play with money, right? But that's why you build it out. You build out these custom connectors with us, with your IT team, and you give it the boundaries so that it's built out to do the tasks you want it to do, and it'll do those tasks the same way every single time. So just to ease everybody's minds a little bit more, I'm going to have Jared talk about some of the guardrails you can implement in AI. So kind of keep it within its bounds. You keep it, on task, right?
Yeah, thanks, Caden. For anybody that's been around me, I tend to be pretty big stickler on security. So that's where my head goes all the time when I'm like, oh, hey, we're gonna have, this unregulated AI, come in and destroy everything or whatever, I like to think about worst case. So
Wipe all
um
data in one
yeah, yeah,
cycle.
right. And these are things that, like one hand they're like really funny, but they do happen. So how do we prevent them? How do we operate a car without running anybody over, right? How do we ensure that if we're in a car and we get in a terrible crash, we're safe? We build systems around it. We build a seatbelt. We educate the driver so that they know not to slam into people. And the same thing's true with, all tools, and AI is a tool. And just for context, I believe it was Sam who asked about this. So this will directly answer your question for you. So we talked a little bit about connectors. And when we build connectors, when you set them up for the first time, all AI agents, for the most part, are going to ask you, and you're giving them access. And you can say, I want you to have access to my emails, but you can only read this, or you can't write to them. Or you can have access to our CRM system, but you can't write in our CRM system. So you can only look at it to gain knowledge. But you can't add anything, you can't change anything. So let's pull, I guess, all the way back and talk about like the core foundation. There's 4 real big things. The first is least privilege. You'll hear this a lot in IT companies. We talk about it when it comes to security. An agent should only receive the information and actions required for its specific job, right? If it only needs to read financial data, it doesn't need the permission to create or delete it. It's pretty simple. The second is meaningful confirmation, especially for high impact actions. The important word here is meaningful, right? A generic like, are you sure prompt does not tell someone enough to make an informed decision. We see it a lot. AI will ask, it'll say, oh, are you sure you want me to do this? Or, did you read the terms and conditions? And people just say, yeah, and they move on. So it's important that when we build systems, we build a meaningful confirmation. So before approaching an action, the user should be able to see what will change, what records are involved, who will receive this information, can the action be reversed? And if you don't understand an approval request, one of the cool things about AI is you can ask it. if it asks, it's like, hey, do you approve this? And you say, I don't know what you're even, what are you doing? And you can say, what are you doing? You ask it. And it'll say, oh, well, I'm going to try to do this thing. And you say, I didn't ask for you to do that. I wanted you to do this. And you can redirect it. So asking is important. Ask what permissions it needs, why it needs them, what are the risks even. You can even, converse with it on that level. The third thing is reversibility. I brought it up, delete all my stuff. That would obviously be a problem. So wherever possible, workflows should use version history. Pre-change snapshots, soft deletes, backups, rollback options. These are all a lot of words that fly over everybody's heads, but the long condensed version is having backups of your systems are critical. And with AI actions, a lot of times we can say, and we can build this out in our engines that we discussed earlier. We can say, when you're making these changes to our CRM, to our HubSpot, to whatever, create a short snapshot so that the action can be reversed. And we can do this so that we can reverse actions if there is a failure. So for like one of my own automations, I receive a notification when it completes and another notification if it encounters an error. So I know, I know, I have visibility. That's my fourth thing. So logs on what's happening, a way to stop the workflow if it's behaving unexpectedly. Visibility is critical. We don't just like tell like, yeah, manage my CRM, thanks, bye, and then just let it run. We have these reoccurring notifications and visibility so we can see where it's going, what it's doing, what it's trying to tackle. So
I can add to
these
this a little bit, if you don't mind.
yeah.
I just want to let's make it a discussion a little bit. Here's Jared talking about guardrails, and I do guardrails myself. I told my Claude, to get verifications before sending an email, to get verifications before deleting, but as a business owner, I just, we can all talk to Claude and tell it not to do things, but in the end, it still may break and do something. That's why I just went around for all of the key software packages that we have, and I ensured we have backups. Like, if a software is in the cloud, it doesn't mean it has a backup. For example, QuickBooks Online. It's online, right? It's safe. I've used it for a long time. Everything's good. But now we have Claude that can wipe things. So I just went in and bought backup for QuickBooks. Now it backs up all data once a day. And the worst that can happen, I'll lose a day of data in QuickBooks. So that's 100% proof way of doing it. Same thing for Office 365. I mean, all of our clients who are our clients, by default, we provide backups of Microsoft 365 environments. Anything gets deleted in your SharePoint, email, task, event, whatever, calendars, doesn't matter. Everything has a backup. So when you start going into agentic AI, from my perspective, from perspective of risk, think backups as number one thing.
Yeah. And a lot of these guardrails and securities are not, nothing's ever foolproof, and that goes without saying. But I do like to remind people, but when we build out these systems and these engines, just like an engine in a car or in a jet or a rocket, they're complex. Sometimes they're simple. But we build out fail-safes. We try to think of the edge cases, right? So when we build out AI tools, a lot of times people start small, and that's okay. That's what Cowork does. It's great at it. It's great at simple things. And you can say, hey, take my Notion calls. This is one we use here today, every day at 6 o'clock at SafePoint IT. At 6 o'clock, if I have a recorded call, it runs through, it grabs my recorded call or whatever, and my notes, and we'll condense it and put it into a specific place and name it and all that good stuff. So, and we build out that system. It's very easy, very simple, lightweight. And then there's more complex ones like what Alec brought up, where it's touching multiple systems or it's handling more sensitive data. And we build those guardrails and we test it and we play with it. So at
Yeah.
the end of the day, having that verification at the end, confirmation is really critical because people remain accountable for the decisions and actions that matter, right? It might draft that email for Alec, but it doesn't auto send because Alec doesn't want to lose a sale by, an AI generating a terrible email. He still approves it. And most of the time it's right and he can just hit send, but he's still that final confirmation piece. And that's just one part of those guardrails. Um, you know, and with that in mind, I'm going to hand it back to Caden and show how Claude also does some other cool stuff.
We have
Yeah,
nine
we've been
minutes
talking a
left.
lot.
Are we fitting into it? We're
Yeah. Oh,
moving
yeah. This
pace.
is this is
Okay.
quick.
Yeah.
So I've secretly been doing another demo this whole presentation. So Claude has one more little new feature that we've used to build out this presentation. It's called Claude Design. You can use it to build out, creative tasks like this, right? This presentation was built using Claude. This presentation was built using our brand material, our previous webinars, information about our team, stuff like that. I gave it, what our last webinar looked like. I gave it our brand, our vision, what we were looking to do, the content that we wanted to run for this webinar, and it helped me build this entire thing out. If I escape out of our little window here, you can see I was talking to it. It's just a conversation, and this whole presentation came out like this. You can use AI, you can use Claude specifically to do anything. Start small, create presentations, ask it questions, move up a little bit. You start scheduling simple tasks, start automating things a little bit, move up a little bit further, start giving it access to more of your system, ask it to do simple things that tie different parts of your environment together. And then really break into it and start using code, build out more step by step, multi-step workflows that you have to do multiple times, that you have to do on a regular basis. Take things off your plate, give it to your tools here, free up your time, move on to bigger, better things, Um, these are ways that you can use these tools to kind of empower yourself, empower your team, and really, really make a difference for your business. So, with that, I want to open up the floor to more Q&A. We can talk about, how you build out your first custom connector, how you get Claude or ChatGPT into QuickBooks, HubSpot, Salesforce. Um, any part of your environment, there are ways to get it connected to Claude, and we're here to help with that.
One of
Sales
the
at
things,
SafePointIT.com.
I just wanted to note. So we spoke about different software packages, but in reality, we can connect you to any software package that has an open API. Basically, 99% of software packages available out there that are modern, they will have an API. If
yep.
they We basically can create a custom connector for anything. You can now work in your software through in the interface of your Claude. Like I stopped logging into, well, I still go into HubSpot, but maybe 10% of the time I used to, I do everything through the interface of Claude. Same thing for my Microsoft to do application. I don't go in there.
Mhm.
I
It's
do it through
like,
the interface. It's like I'm doing more and more stuff in other applications through the interface of Claude Code. So yeah, think connectors. Think connectors.
yeah,
One thing to note before I want to make sure everybody hears it before they jump off. Um, the next webinar is on October 15. We take a little bit of break, but you will get an invite in your email. If you're a part of this, you will get an email tomorrow or Monday, the latest, about with the recording, with the deck, and with the invitation to the next event. Jared, to you, what did you want to say?
Well, I got two things now. One, it was kind of like for those of you that are SafePoint IT webinar alumni, when we dropped Big Bill and he operated out of Slack. I brought it up then that as AI evolves, we're going to be using our tools less and less. Part of the whole thing that spun that idea was, man, it'd be great if, Alec and Dima and our sales team would stop, pinging our techs asking for updates on ticket notes when they're just sitting there in ticket notes. Instead of pinging me, they could ping somebody else. And so we see these integrations blowing up more and more every day. I got a great question. What's the most common mistake you see businesses make when they first try to adopt this? That's a really wide question. But I will say that I think that a big mistake that a lot of companies make when they start to get into utilizing AI is they don't do it. They just don't utilize it. They don't get trained on it. And so I see a lot of people using AI, even here at SafePoint. When I first started here, I was like, man, you could do it this way. And it was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I could give AI a picture and tell it to, learn from that or have it do these things. So for me, I think that the training's a really big one because the tool is nearly unlimited, as Caden said earlier. You can do anything. Um, but if people don't know that or they don't understand how to make it do those things, the tool sits barely being used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my experience, a lot of the issues initially come from starting too big. These tools are incredibly powerful, but where the most benefit comes is starting with small aspects of your workflow, perfecting that using AI to really build out that aspect of your workflow, take that over, and then move to the next step. Doing it piece by piece, understanding, how it's going to work on each piece, it keeps you from getting overwhelmed. It keeps you from running into problems. You don't have to troubleshoot and figure out, the whole process from start to finish. You figure out this little process, get that one working how you want it, and then move from there.
Vladimir's got a question I want to
There's
answer.
there's more questions. Yeah, let's jump in, but let's get them in the order they came in. Sam asked a question about QuickBooks Connector specifically.
Oh.
I want to get it out of the way. So the question is, what are the specific things about out-of-the-box connector for QuickBooks Online that I didn't like, causing me to create a custom connector? So basically, when I tried it 3 months ago to do anything, it was like a broken toy. I couldn't even pull profit and loss, all of the data and generate a report. Now I have a projection report for 6 months, including historic 6 months, and that I can adjust using Claude, right? In HTML format, nice, color coded and all of that, but it's pulling all the data, including the payroll data and it knows who still works here, who doesn't, who gets how much money. And, it was all limitation before. Entering bills, like invoices get sent to one mailbox, accounts payable at SafePoint IT, and they get stored there. I pay those twice a month. And before I wanted to use that QuickBooks Connector, it didn't do it the way I wanted it. Now, basically, I just tell it twice a month, hey, Claude, go to the folder approved for entry in my AP mailbox and enter them into QuickBooks. It finds the emails, it finds the attachments, it looks at the existing vendors, how they were created before. It chooses the right expense accounts. It attaches the file attached to the email. It attaches it as an attachment to QuickBooks invoice. Yes, it asks me for some confirmations, but basically it's doing the whole thing by itself. When it's done with the email, it just moves it to the done folder. And that's a full automation. Journal entries, like I have end of a month journal entry that takes me about 40 minutes to an hour to do every month. And now it takes me 5 minutes to do, because it just replicates what it did last time, does it by itself. It will ask me for a couple of Excel sheets from external sources, and boom, all I have to do is review it. So I hope that answers the question.
Yep. Got a question from Vladimir here. It says, is there a solution for connecting with a platform that doesn't have an open API? Is it possible to use a bot to simulate a user and connect it to an LLM? Yes, but you're actually thinking of it in a harder way than it needs to be. To be fair, I think that's the common mistake we make when working with AI. I'm a ChatGPT more user than these two. They like Claude. I lean on ChatGPT more. But right now, ChatGPT's co-work function or codex, and Claude has a similar approach too, can actually open up a model or open up your screen effectively and look at it. It can take a picture. It takes a screenshot of your screen and says, "Oh, okay, I'm on QuickBooks," or I'm going to use, QuickBooks as an example for a minute, but I'm in QuickBooks and the user wants to create a new thing. I need to go to File. So it moves the mouse to File and it clicks, and then it takes another screenshot. And so it's okay. Now I need to click this and then do this and this and this, and you can have it do it. It is not as robust. It's very slow and it's very new still. That doesn't mean that it's going to be that way forever. Likely will be improving very quickly. But it's very helpful, and it's also helpful for like design work because it can see what it's making, things like that. So to answer your question, if you had a old software that didn't have an API, which like Alex said, I'd kind of be surprised if you had one, because most software made in the last 20 years has has an API. There are ways to connect to it still, and there are other backend ways we can manipulate data on software. So there are ways around it. Another question is Levi Renko. How long does it take for an AI to be fully trained when it comes to detail work? This is an interesting question too, because training could be a memory. How long does it take to learn, for example, Alec, and how Alec communicates, or how long does it take to learn how he prefers his responses to be formatted or whatever? Memory happens really quick. AI that was a big thing, a big push back when AI, like ChatGPT was on ChatGPT 4 and Claude was back on Claude 4, was memory, and making it so that AI was more personal. And so it's very quick for memory to take place, especially if you tell it when you're working, I need you to remember this. I need you to focus on this. As for
Honestly,
Mhm.
I think you may be looking at it from the wrong angle. It's not really like you train it first, then you use it. It's you start using Claude and you just keep telling it to save the method when you did something successfully. And that's it. And you keep doing it every day, more and more. It saves all of that in the same folder, becomes persistent memory, and eventually just becomes your personal agent. That's it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
almost
very
like,
similar.
yeah, it's almost like asking when you're fully trained, right? Like you're always learning, you're always developing new skills. These AI tools are very similar to that, where, every single day you're going to get better at what you're doing. You're going to learn better ways, faster ways to do things. But at the end of the day, like you start doing it first, right? Like you get the initial instruction, you start working through it, and then you refine from there. Uh,
Yeah,
Realistically, the answer on when it's fully trained is when you feel, it's working the way that you want it to work every single time.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's correct, Levi. It evolves alongside you. It does. It learns those answers based off of how you respond to questions, how you respond to problems. You give it a question, it doesn't quite answer it right, and you correct it, just like a training an employee, right?
Yep.
Or a small
Just
child.
keep working from the same keep working from the same folder. and it's going to start creating subfolders and so forth. You tell it, hey, map everything you create in this folder so that you access all those other things from this folder. I'm only going to work from this one folder. And that becomes your agent. It keeps saving everything, all the memories, all the file, all the references to the same place. And this is it. And that's why it's beautiful. It doesn't matter how many sessions you open, as long as you open the same folder, you're back, to your fully capable, learned whatever they learned up to today about you and your environment.
Valeria's got one. Can I give a prompt to get me insurance summary of benefits, and will it recognize where to pull it from? I'm assuming if the summary of benefits is online, you can say, when I ask for this information going forward, here's the website I want you to pull it from. If the information is in a, let's just say, a folder on your server, or maybe it's another tool like a CRM or some type of management solution, and you connect it to it, you say, hey, when I ask for the summary of benefits, or when I ask for, tell me what this Blue Cross plan has, right? Here's where that information will reside at. It knows now to look there. And here's the cool thing, and we brought it up, but I can't express it enough. You'll try it the first time, and I guarantee it won't work right. It'll work, but it won't be the way you want it to be, and that's okay. And you'll say, no, you stupid machine, I need you to work this way. And you'll tell it how to direct it. And then it'll ask it again, and it'll get better. And it's not like this big production either. I'm talking like 15 minutes. And before you know it, it is going to start to be refining, and you'll get those answers you're looking for. And when it makes mistakes, you tell it, no, you made a mistake. This is why. And the next answer is going to be closer and closer to what you're looking for.
And it's interesting because you can ask exactly, you can take this question, put it into Claude, and it will tell you what it's missing. Like, okay, where do you want to pull it from? And you're gonna say something, and it will be like, oh, okay, I don't have access to it. Let me try this. Let me try that. It's gonna try a few things, and then be like, well, the ideal way is probably do this. Give me that, or create this connector. It will guide you through all the way to get that information. So,
I know this kind of sounds very generalized, not very specific. To actually come up with the solution to gathering that insurance summary and providing you that explanation of benefits, we would want to sit down with you, look at what your process looks like, what are you accessing, how are you gathering it, and then we work with you to build out the automation to do that. So it's hard right now to give you a very specific answer, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Sam's got a question. Well, not a question, I guess, more of a little bit of a statement, but it has a question insinuated. What I'm learning is it's critical. It's really critical to prioritize and focus on automating the most common and critical activities in your business. So being the security focused centric person that I am, I would lean, automate the common, easy targets, hit the low hanging fruit, things that is really common that everybody does. It's, like those menial tasks that you spend 30 minutes a day doing. AI is really good at that. So whenever I think about things, whenever I walk into a situation, I say, man, what are we doing a lot of that, like, we just do over and over again? And how can I have AI help me on that? Maybe it's just responding an email, maybe it's drafting something, or maybe it's more complex, but that's where I like to go to first.
Honestly, I want to ask it from a different perspective. Like, when do you use it, right? I caught myself a couple of days ago. There was a to-do item after the call. I no longer take notes, right? I take the transcript and I ask Claude, hey, anything there for me to do? And gives a couple of things. But then I don't put it in my to-do list to do. I take this action item into a separate session in my Claude now, and I just tell it, let's do this. And I start working on it. I may finish it tomorrow, but I stopped using to do application. I use Claude sessions instead. It's basically I use it for everything. It's yeah, I don't know how else to
I
explain it.
I apologize. I missed the question that I said I would answer for Brian. I'm so sorry to get back to you late. I clicked it and it went away. And anyway, Brian asked, when using Gmail, email for business, Zoom meetings, and a CRM like Wealthbox, which closed platform can these all integrate with Claude? Trying to understand how the workflows follow up after meetings and ongoing updates, similar to what we do now. And the answer is, yeah, they can all work together. Although I did look it up briefly while Caden was talking earlier. Wealthbox requires a bit more of a setup because they would require a custom connector. However, Gmail and Zoom have default connectors. So you could have a process, and I think people are still misunderstanding how simple it is. So I thought, you know what, I still have 36 people sitting here, so you guys are obviously interested. If you open up Claude and go to Cowork, just to answer Brian's question, and I'll skip the wealth box part, but you would go into Cowork and you would say, or help me set up a reoccurring client follow-up workflow using connected Gmail, Google Calendar, and Zoom accounts. And it would ask you, I want to be clear, it will then prompt you to connect them. It'll say, hey, I need to establish this connector. Can you log into Gmail? Can you log into Zoom? And you do that. And this is where those guardrails come in, and you'd say what kind of access you want to give it and what kind you don't. And then from there, we're still typing out our response. We haven't actually hit enter yet. You'd say for each completed client meeting, find the corresponding Zoom transcript, AI summary, and action items, which are generated in Zoom. Review my recent emails with the client for any additional context or commitments. And then create a concise meeting summary containing decisions. What else was another thing? Important client information, actions, owners, due dates, all that stuff. Draft a personalized follow-up email in Gmail, but do not send it. I want to review it first, so it'd be living in your drafts, right? 5, prepare, maybe you, in this case, we don't have a Wealthbox actually set up, so you'd say prepare a Wealthbox ready CRM note and a list of tasks that should be added to the record, right? This is without their connector set up. And flag anything that appears sensitive, unclear, requires compliance, or falls outside of this realm. Also, we want to schedule it. So we say also create a scheduled weekday task that does all that stuff. Before you do it, show me what it would look like and then hit enter. And that's it. You're done. I just did your thing, Brian. You're welcome. And it's really that easy. And so after that, there'll be some setup and you'll have to adjust it. You'll have to tell it, oh, I don't like this format, or maybe you can respond to this a bit different. Maybe you can handle this a different way. But that's it. It'll start answering those questions. It'll start running through that task for you. Final question I've got here, Levi asking, so if you have multiple agents from different tasks, do they need connectors to interact with each other, or will they automatically designate information to each other? Multiple agents for different tasks. Okay, so
I used to think I need an agent for marketing, agent for financial, and so forth. And I used to operate from different folders. But then I realized that the context from one topic, from one folder, can influence the context of the other. So I still have financial marketing subfolders, but they're subfolders. They're all mapped to the parent folder. In the end, this is the same agent. It's just basically I'm training the same agent to do everything. There's no point to separate it. It's not. It doesn't work like ChatGPT, different chats, and it remembers things only in a chat and maybe somewhat and of it and other chats. It remembers everything you did forever because it saves it on your hard drive, in your folder.
And this is for Cowork and Code.
And for example, there was an outage, right? And it affected the client. And when I was doing collections, for example, it stopped me like, hey, don't send a collection email. There was an outage that affected him. So it's like different things, technical and financial, but it caught it and it warned me. So
And that persistent memory, that ability for it to reference everything is specific to Claude Code and Claude Cowork, as well as ChatGPT Cowork and ChatGPT Codex. The normal chat functions, which before somebody was saying LLM, so a very similar thing. No, you do not need to create skills anymore. It doesn't, skills are kind of dying. So I'll give you an example of that answers both of those questions in a way. To answer Levi first, I have a Codex agent right now that's helping me tackle a task. And instead of saying like, "Hey, this is it's helping me script something," instead of saying you're my UI front end and you're my core code agent and blah blah blah, I have a coordinator agent. And what ChatGPT will do, and Codex and Claude does it similarly, is they'll spin up what are called sub agents. ChatGPT calls them sub agents. Claude calls them something else. I forget what it's called, but it just spins up smaller agents effectively to tackle problems, but it still retains that memory. So Alex, correct. You just ask it all in that one spot. It gains this persistent memory and it goes on and on and on and will allow it to learn about you, your environment, problems you have, your routines, the way you want to do something. Again, just like a personal assistant. That's really like the end goal here for a lot of these tools is how can I create a true digital assistant? And every day we get closer and closer. Um, as for
And
your skill touch, you don't need skills as much anymore um, because of the memory point. They're still useful and they still exist, but more likely at this point, you're going to see in cowork or in code, you'll use a specific if you have like a repeatable task that you're like, this is it. It needs to be this way every single time. Previously, you'd build a skill. Now you would build a code project or a cowork project, leave it in there, and continue to run it from there every time.
Caden is jumping off. He has, we're already 20 minutes over, but we still have 30 people in the session. I want to finish all the questions we have here. Caden, please jump off.
Yeah, by all means, ask as many questions as you guys want. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Hope everybody has a good day. Thank you.
All right. But
So
what's the
yeah.
next question?
So next question. We've got
Team members working on the same project. Do they
no.
gain from?
No, and this is an interesting one for right now, but I want to be clear, this is changing very quickly. Up until now, you have not been able to operate from a like in a shared work environment. Okay, that wasn't something you could do. But now we are, because they opened up Cowork and Codex can do it too. So both Claude and ChatGPT, you could set up memory to operate from a shared location and have a whole workforce utilize it. Claude does note that in that situation, it can still be slow and it's very beta, but in theory, and we don't do it here just to be transparent. We haven't done anything like that. But in theory, I could set it up so that me and Alec and Caden all operate with the same memory. And we start tackling projects that way, but it would have its own limitations.
Basically, there's a different way of doing it. You can create a repository in GitHub, which is a coding, verbiage and all of that. But essentially what it means, you can create like a folder in the cloud and you can tell your cloud to push information in there. And then, so basically that's what I did for managed marketing and sales engine, as I call it, so that it has a lot of context about our sales process, about our marketing, who we are, what we do, and so forth. And all of that is pushed into that folder. And then automatically when I do that, every time I update that folder, there's a notification that goes in Slack channel to all of the marketing sales people to sync their Claude code with that folder. they go to their manually, they go to their Claude and they say, hey, sync with that folder, marketing and sales engine folder, and it does it for them because it already has a connection. So there is a way of creating a shared environment, and it's very powerful. You basically put in an agent into the cloud to share with others. Yeah.
Speaking of, we should set that up as a scheduled sync so they don't have to manually do it. Then they wouldn't
I
have to
tried
manually
that.
tell it.
Claude said it's a security concern. We should have been doing that. And I
That's
shied away
true
from that.
because yeah, that's the security concern is that if their repository is open, it would or if you malicious code was pushed into the GitHub,
Yeah.
it would sync down. So this is a great example of guardrails, guys. So you can see Alec, who's tech savvy enough to get his hands dirty, ran into a problem he probably wasn't aware of, but Claude was smart enough to say like, hey, that's a good idea, but maybe don't do it because here's a potential problem. And it's right, that is a potential problem. So if it's, a risk tolerance, you kind of weigh in and weigh out. So
Yeah.
looks like that's all of our code or all of our questions. So from our end, thank you for coming, everybody, and staying late
Thank
and
you,
hanging out with
everybody,
us.
for attending. And yeah, super happy. It looks the information was very useful. Everybody will get a copy of this in an email. So thank you, everybody, and have a good day.